You think it is complicated. You think the reason it is not working is that you need better lines, a better body, more money, a better car, a sharper sense of humor. You think there is some missing piece, some specific thing you do not yet have or do not yet know, that is standing between you and the results you want. There is no missing piece. Attraction is not complicated. Your insecurity is. And once you understand that distinction clearly, once you see that the problem is not external but internal, not about what you lack, but about what you are broadcasting, everything simplifies. Today, you are going to understand why getting girls is actually straightforward once you remove the behaviors that are sabotaging you. Simple, not easy, but simple. Here's the truth that changes how you think about this entire subject. Women do not choose based on a logical checklist. They are not running a rational assessment of your income, your height, your resume. They are responding to signals. The behavioral patterns that communicate something about your internal state before your words have had the opportunity to make their case. Emotional stability, confidence cues, the felt sense of a man who is not desperate for a specific outcome. These are the signals that matter. And signals are fixable. If you fix your signals, results follow. That is the rule. The evolutionary context makes this concrete. Across human history, the men who consistently attracted women were not the most physically perfect. They were the most competent, the most emotionally stable, the most directionally clear. The man who could lead, who could handle pressure without collapsing, who had genuine resources or was genuinely on his way to them. That man was valuable in the biological sense that precedes and underlies all conscious assessment. The modern translation is direct: fitness, calm presence, social ease, genuine purpose. You do not need perfection. You need stability. The stability signals the competence. The competence signals the value. Now, the real reason it feels hard, and it is not what you think. The number one attraction killer is neediness, not ugliness, not poverty, not lack of charm, neediness. The specific quality of a man who needs a particular woman to respond in a particular way in order to feel okay about himself. And neediness expresses itself in behaviors that you probably recognize because you have probably done them. Overtexting is one expression. The maintaining of constant contact that communicates that you have nothing better to be doing than managing this interaction, that your time and attention are in unlimited supply, and she is the primary recipient of both. Overinvesting is another. The premature allocation of significant emotional energy, time, and material resources to something that has not yet established itself as worth that level of investment. Over-explaining is the third. The anxious provision of justification and context for decisions that did not require justification or context. The behavioral expression of someone who needs the other person's understanding and approval to feel secure in their choices. Interest versus desperation. That is the binary. Genuine interest is warm, proportional, and not contingent on a specific response. Desperation is urgent, disproportionate, and completely contingent on the response being the right one. Needing her approval kills attraction faster than rejection. Because rejection is at least the behavior of a man who tried. Desperation is the behavior of a man who has already decided this specific outcome is necessary, and that decision, once visible, is what actually ends the possibility. Overthinking is the second real problem. Most men spend more time strategizing about women than actually talking to them. They construct elaborate mental models of the right approach, the right opener, the right sequence of moves, and then do nothing with the model because the thinking has replaced the action. Attraction rewards momentum. Conversation beats strategy. The man who has a slightly imperfect interaction that actually happened is infinitely better positioned than the man who has a perfect strategy he never executed. Stop thinking. Start moving. Rejection is the final thing that makes it feel harder than it is. Specifically, the fear of rejection, which magnifies the stakes of every interaction to the point where not trying feels like the safer option. It is not. Rejection is not failure. It is filtering. The rejection tells you that this specific woman at this specific time is not the right match. That is useful information. It is not a verdict on your value as a person. The scarcity mindset treats every rejection as evidence of fundamental inadequacy. The abundance mindset treats it as one data point in a large sample. Build the abundance mindset. It is the only framework in which the numbers work. Now, the simplified formula. 4 steps. No complexity required. Step 1. Fix your baseline. If you dress clean, not expensively, not fashionably in some aspirational sense, just clean, fitted, put together, you are already ahead of the majority of men who do not. If you train consistently, not at an elite level, not with any particular goal of physical perfection, just with the discipline of someone who takes their physical maintenance seriously, the signals your body broadcasts change. If you speak calmly, at a measured pace, without the nervous rush of someone who is anxious about whether the window will stay open, your presence feels different. If you have direction, a genuine sense of what you're building and where you're going, you are interesting in a way that the directionless man is not. These 4 things together eliminate approximately 70% of the difficulty. The man who is clean, trained, calm, and directional is already a genuinely compelling figure in most social environments, not because he has done anything extraordinary, but because the baseline competence he is projecting is already significantly rarer than it should be. Most men are not doing these things consistently. Do them consistently. The field narrows dramatically. Step 2, talk like a normal human. Stop performing. The performance, the attempt to say the impressive thing, to deliver the witty line, to present the most favorable version of yourself at all times, is the specific behavior that makes conversation feel unnatural because it is unnatural. You are not actually having a conversation. You are conducting an audition, and the audition quality of the interaction is legible to the person on the other side of it. Ask open questions, not the surface level biographical questions of an interview. The genuine curiosity questions that invite real self-disclosure. Make playful comments, not jokes constructed for maximum effect. The natural, warm observations that arise from genuine engagement with what is actually happening. Avoid the trap of filling every moment with content. Silence is not failure, it is presence. Comfort creates connection. That is the rule. The interaction that produces genuine comfort, in which both people are actually relaxed, actually present, actually enjoying the exchange, the interaction that produces the genuine connection that all the strategic approaches we're trying to engineer. Stop engineering. Start showing up. Step 3, control emotional pace. Do not rush intimacy. The man who escalates emotionally, physically, in terms of the depth of personal disclosure, faster than the developing connection warrants, creates discomfort rather than connection. The intimacy needs to develop at the pace the actual relationship permits, not the pace your desire for a specific outcome is driving. Do not escalate too slowly either. The opposite error is equally common and equally costly. The man who has built genuine rapport and genuine warmth but never moves, who maintains the comfortable engagement of friendly interaction without allowing it to develop into genuine flirtation, has built a friendship, which is valuable, but is not what we are discussing. Calibration over aggression, pushy versus passive. The binary is clear. The calibrated middle is where the actual development happens. Step 4, maintain independent focus. This is the step that makes everything else work. If she senses that she is your only option, that your emotional well-being depends on this specific interaction producing a specific outcome, the tension dies. The dynamic collapses into the asymmetric pursuit that we have been describing as the primary attraction killer. The felt sense that she is the entire world of your romantic interest is not flattering. It is pressure, and pressure produces retreat. Purpose builds gravity. The man who is genuinely engaged in his own life, in his work, his training, his friendships, his development, is a man whose attention is genuinely valuable because it is genuinely scarce. He is not always available because he genuinely has other things going on. And his presence, when it arrives, carries the quality of a genuine choice rather than the desperation of someone with no other options. People lean toward those who are moving forward. Be that person. Now the power dynamic dimension. Because understanding leverage changes how you operate. The investment rule is simple. The person investing more emotionally loses leverage. In the early stages of any developing connection, the person who is more visibly, more intensely, more completely invested is the person who has less freedom to behave authentically, less freedom to hold their standards, less freedom to walk away when the dynamic is not serving them. Match effort. Do not oversupply attention. Attraction requires balanced pursuit. The asymmetry always resolves in favor of the less invested person. Do not volunteer the less favorable position. Scarcity must be real. This is the clarification that matters. The performed scarcity of someone who is artificially delaying responses, manufacturing unavailability, playing at having a full life they do not actually have. That performance is eventually exposed, and the exposure does not just fail to produce the intended effect. It actively produces contempt, playing hard to get versus being busy building. That is the binary. Be genuinely busy building something worth building. The scarcity is the natural consequence, and the natural consequence is genuine. Your environment matters more than most men realize. The social context in which you operate, your social circle, the activities you engage in, the environments you show up in, communicates something about you before any individual interaction has begun. The man who is embedded in a genuine social world, who has genuine friendships, who shows up in environments where his presence is clearly welcome. That man has social proof that the isolated man does not. Context amplifies value. Show up in the right context. Build the right environment. Now what actually makes it feel easy? Emotional detachment from outcome is the quality that most dramatically changes the felt experience of every interaction. Not indifference. The genuine not needing of a specific result that comes from having built a life that is genuinely satisfying enough that any particular romantic outcome is an addition rather than a resolution. When you do not need the result, your tone changes. The urgency that was making your voice slightly too fast, your eye contact slightly too intense, your body slightly too tense. It dissipates. Your body language shifts, your energy stabilizes, and that stabilization is the thing she is responding to. Detachment increases attraction. This is the statement. Not because detachment is a tactic, but because the genuine detachment from outcome, the kind that is possible only when your life is genuinely full enough that the specific outcome is not existentially significant, produces the behavioral expression that the biology reads as high value. The man who does not need this is the man who has options. The man with options is the man worth pursuing. Energy over words. This is the operational principle that simplifies every interaction. It is not about having the perfect thing to say. It is about the quality of the energy you are bringing into the room. Eye contact that is genuine and warm rather than anxious and fleeting. Speech that is slow enough to communicate calm rather than fast enough to communicate anxiety. A controlled smile that arrives because something is genuinely amusing rather than because you are performing warmth. A relaxed posture that communicates ease in your own body rather than the contracted tension of someone who is managing their presentation. Performance versus presence. That is the binary. Presence is what she is responding to. Build presence. Now, the philosophical distinction that closes the tactical section. Seeking validation reduces attraction. This is the counterintuitive truth that the entire script has been building toward. The pursuit of approval. The behavior of a man who is adjusting himself in real time based on the responses he is generating produces the opposite of the effect it is designed to produce. Because the approval seeking itself communicates the absence of the internal security that genuine attraction requires. Attraction grows when you approve of yourself first. When your sense of your own value is genuinely internal, grounded in your actual competence, your actual discipline, your actual direction, rather than externally dependent on her specific response to you. And when you are selective, the man who is clearly not available to just anyone, who has genuine standards, who is assessing whether she is compatible with his life, rather than anxiously hoping he is compatible with hers, is a fundamentally more compelling figure than the man who is hoping any available woman will be interested. Here is the real secret, the reframe that changes everything. Stop asking, how do I get her? Start asking, does she qualify for my time? This is the shift from the supplicant mindset, the orientation of a man who is trying to secure a specific person's positive assessment, to the chooser mindset, the orientation of a man who has something worth choosing and is assessing whether this specific person is worth choosing it with. This is not arrogance. It is the honest expression of a man who has built genuine value, who has invested in his physical development, his professional direction, his emotional stability, his social intelligence, and who recognizes that the investment has produced something worth protecting. He is not desperate for anyone to recognize the value. He knows it. And the knowing is what produces the presence that she cannot help but respond to. Here is the ending. Two options. You can overcomplicate everything, can continue to build elaborate strategies, memorize techniques, construct approaches for every possible scenario, and spend more time thinking about attraction than actually engaging in the social world where attraction develops. Many men do this indefinitely. It produces anxiety and poor results, and the specific irony of a man who knows everything about attraction and experiences very little of it. Or you can build yourself into someone who naturally attracts. You can fix the baseline, the fitness, the dress, the calm, the direction. You can talk like a genuine human being rather than someone performing for an audience. You can control your emotional investment, maintain your independent focus, detach from specific outcomes, and show up with the energy of a man who is genuinely present rather than genuinely desperate. Getting girls is not about tricks. It is not about having the right lines or the right strategy or the right sequence of moves. It is about stability, the felt quality of a man who is grounded in himself and does not require external validation to maintain his equilibrium. Scarcity, the natural result of a man who is genuinely building something and therefore genuinely not always available. Direction, the specific quality of forward movement that makes a man interesting to be around and compelling to pursue. And calm confidence, the output of a man who has done enough internal work that social interactions are genuine rather than performances. Stop chasing approval. The chasing is the problem. Build leverage instead. The leverage comes from the building, from the consistent daily investment in becoming the kind of man whose presence is genuinely worth pursuing. Build that man. The results are the natural consequence. Build yourself. Results follow.